George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Hey, folks, welcome into today's Super Chat follow-up catch-up. Why not start with a comment like that? So, folks, this is a follow-up from last night's High Council. What had happened was Chris Gore was our guest, and he was going to be on both Jesse and my show. And Chris only had a finite amount of time, so we had to move forward. So I told you guys I would do this at noon Pacific time. It is noon Pacific time, and we are here to catch up on all the Super Chats and have a discussion about other stuff. So, first up, the first one we ended with was Adam Walford, who says, they did that in X-Men Evolution where Magneto had her locked up in asylum so she can't hurt anyone or destroy reality. So that's in regard to WandaVision. We're talking about that. WandaVision is one of those situations where I want to talk about it in a positive, fun way, but I'm not having a really fun time with it. And being an X fan / mutant fan, I know how the lineage goes, and it just kind of annoys me that we'll never, because any backdoor writing they're going to do to make Magneto her father, come on now, it's going to have to be multi-dimensional and all this other crap. So, by the way, Adam, I did like X-Men Evolution. In hindsight, I like it even more because I caught that show when it dropped right away, and I had never seen the X-Men that weren't adults. I had only known the cartoon, and then I don't know if the movie had come out yet. I think it's the same year. Point is, I had never seen teenage X-Men. I hadn't read classic books, and the Dark Phoenix saga was just those episodes of the show. So I look back on that show a lot kinder now, knowing my X-Men history, instead of just being a kid going, this looks stupid and this doesn't have the good music, so I don't like it. So, folks, if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's a pretty good show. Our friend Nano Reaper, thank you very much, says she passed away on November 24th, 2016. So that was last night in regard to Florence Henderson, who had passed away. We couldn't remember. We were talking about WandaVision and the old TV throwbacks and all the fun stuff. And Mrs. Brady came up, and we couldn't remember when she had passed away or if she had passed away. So thank you, Nano Reaper. Tim Riggs says, social media is a plague that creates rage addicts. Well, you're not wrong on that one, dude. Social media, I know I sound like the old man yelling at cloud, but it's like, Jeff, what do you think some of today's problems are? That's one of those I'm going to throw in there for one big reason. People don't treat each other with respect anymore. When social media pops up like that, it takes away that barrier. It takes away the barrier of people being respectful. And that really shows at every level. You have people saying really messed up shit and being told it's okay because people on the internet tell you, and reality dictates. That's not how society goes. But, Tim, I think social media definitely helps with that. By the way, folks, we have how many watching? Not too many this morning watching, but that's cool. I want to say good morning to everyone that is here. To our friend Mike Jimkowski. Thank our friend Thomas the Slayer Mosley, Darth Dinese. We also have our friend Commander Ed Streaker of Shadu. Ricardo Martinez is here again. Thank you very much, Ricardo. Thank you to everybody so far. Good morning to our friend Joshua Gonzalez, Canadian Spider-Man, Dr. Herkamonkey. Hologram Nunchuck is here. Thank you very much. And Caleb. So, folks, we're starting this off, but I want you guys to know that this is still a show. So any questions, anything you guys want to talk about, just shoot it my way. We'll see where we're at the end of all this. Now, our friend Darian217, thank you very much. He says, woman in the middle has a similar hairstyle as the one of the girls you see sitting to the right of Kathleen Kennedy in that picture. We always see of Kathleen Kennedy's clan. She can see herself in Star Wars. So the story group lady, I remember her. Jesse, do you remember the lady that was the head of the story group for a minute? She was a black lady. She was everywhere for like a second, and then I'm pretty sure she got fired. You know what I'm talking about? Like in all the Lucasfilm story group photos, she was like a large black lady.
Yeah.
I can't think of her name. Let me look that up real quick for Darian217. But Darian, why am I looking up your name? That's not going to really do much. There you go. Lucasfilm story group. And I didn't even spell it correctly. I can't. What was her name? Pablo Hidalgo. Well, that's a topic for another day. I know you're talking about. I'm looking at her right here, and I can't find her damn name. But yes, Darian217. Self-insert characters are just lame. At the end of the day, what is her name? Oh, she is not in the photo. Anyway, at the end of the day, self-insert characters only work when the people that are inserting their self as characters are cool. A lot of these people suck just across the board. It's like, why are superheroes so lame today? Because the people writing them have egos, and so they want to insert themselves into those roles. And guess what? The heroes suck. That's why you get bullshit Marvel stories and bullshit DC stories. You can make Superman and Batman stupid. Why? Because you have stupid writers putting their own views, thoughts, feelings, insecurities. But isn't that what makes great art, Jeff? And it takes the right type of person to make great art. We now live in a world where we're afraid to tell anyone if they suck. So Marvel and DC just hires anybody, and they're allowed to put self-insert characters. And that's why you have bullshit like Kamala Khan, and that's why you have bullshit like the High Republic, and that's why it doesn't sell. Go to Comic-Con, go look at those numbers. Those are numbers shipped, not sold, meaning those books that they shipped, they might be sitting on a shelf somewhere. The line of data ends with, well, these books were shipped, and sometimes books get double shipped, and well, that just shows that we moved that book. So that's where the problem lies. And Darren, it really comes from when a mega corporation owns everything. So that's how I feel. Valiant Renegade, thank you very much. The High Republic equals the death rattle of Kennedy. Money talks, and Disney investors won't abide the most valuable IP in history being reduced to ruin. Now, Valiant Renegade, that is what logic would dictate, and that's what I would dictate is sounds normal and sound. But, no, that's not the case. It's just misstep after misstep, intentional misstep. And I think that's where the fans really get upset, too, because I can understand a small company make a mistake, or even a big company make a mistake, but these are all intentional choices. So fans aren't being unreasonable this time. The reason why I always go to the fan, aren't being reasonable this time mentality isn't because I'm trying to get brownie points on the internet. It's because I'm a fan, and the stuff they say about us isn't true, but the media picks up on it. So I get tired of that shit. So Star Wars is a valuable IP, most valuable in history. I would say up until Marvel really took over, Star Wars was. But what is the value of an IP? Is it just the money? Is it the value to the audience? Is it the memories that the audience has with said IPs? I mean, you could make a sound argument that Marvel, which predate Marvel Comics proper, not Timely, not Atlas. We're talking Fantastic Four *1, the Marvel Comics branding. That has 15 years on Star Wars. So you could argue it has 15 years more memories to make. But do comics ever reach the height of Star Wars? And maybe if you go back to Superman and stuff, but not modern stuff. Mike's Comics, speaking of comics, thank you very much. He says, Wham Bangarang is my new original Star Wars character. Don't steal, please. Well, Wham Bangarang is very close to our friend Ram Jamaram. And you know what happens when Ram Jamaram's name is said on the channel, right, Jesse?
Ram Jamaram appears.
Jamaram. There you go.
You got Jamarams.
You got Jamarams. I need to make the button. I think people would like it.
I think they would.
So Culture Casino, thank you very much for your super chat sticker of a dancing unicorn. Appreciate that. And again, thank you for the intro to the show. Valiant Renegade, again, thank you very much, says Leox Gayasi was dancing with Lieutenant Proctor in the Blue Oyster Club. So Jesse, you've not seen Police Academy, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the Blue Oyster Club is the gay bar in Police Academy.
Oh, good.
And it's a running gag. See, I'm pretty sure the only R-rated Police Academy film is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows. Because the other ones are funny and dumb, but this one is funny, dumb, and like the best. Mm-hmm. So anytime you hear Blue Oyster Club, it's just calling somebody gay.
Oh, good to know.
Ray J's World says Lando Calrissian. So Ray J's World, in terms of context, I don't understand what you're saying, but Lando is a cool character, and I'll say I enjoy Lando Calrissian a lot. He's my 7th or 8th favorite Star Wars character. It's gonna go Han. And I know this is dumb, but since Han Solo's up there, Chewbacca's got to be his sidekick. And then I like Boba Fett, Darth Vader, obviously Luke. Lando's not too far down that list. He's luckily for him, he's underneath Princess Leia, but still, character I respect. And I was really pissed when they did him dirty in Solo. Okay. Tom is going to join us. Okay, he's waiting for the link. All right, folks. So this show will not be, boring. There we go. That never was. So there's the link to Tom. And so while waiting for Tom to join us, Freak with the basketball says, Jamaram. And you know what happens when that happens, Jesse? Jamaram.
Jamaram.
So there you go. Who is it with the basketballs? Freak with the basketballs. Thank you very much for your super chat.
Gino Ram.
Good morning, Tom. What is up, dude?
Hey, how's it going, man? Jamaram.
I'd ask you what's
Rim.
dude. I'd ask you what's new, but I talked to you 12 hours ago.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing that's new with me is
You don't understand. I was abducted by aliens. I got a probe. No,
I mean, if that's how you like to get down on a Wednesday, I don't judge.
no. And yes, you're right. The first of Police Academy is the only R-rated one. The second one was PG-13, and it had titties and F words in it. But yeah,
Ooh. Well, that's from that fun era where the PG-13 rating was new, and they
actually meant something. Yeah,
yeah. Now it's like, yeah, it's PG-13. That just means everyone can go see it.
yeah. It's like PG heavy, basically. Yeah, or R light, not even.
I go back and look at a movie like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Back to the Future, and those are some of the Back to the Future not really ballsy, but like Temple of Doom, one of those the hardest PG movie. I know it's responsible for the creation, but what are some other hard PG movies besides Temple of Doom?
I guess Gremlins was also responsible for it. Jaws, obviously.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of movies I think that might have gotten away with a PG-13 that didn't back in the day. I think is a better question. Like The Godfather, the original one, probably would have got away with a PG-13. Now, as opposed to then. Other than that, God, that's a good question. A lot of the ones that were like at that time period, like even Back to the Future would probably get rated PG-13 now.
Oh yeah, because of all the holy shits.
I'm sure it was just there. I'm sure they'd find some reason. Because I mean, you look at like the 1990 Ninja Turtle movie, and that's only PG. And then you look at the new one from 2014, 16 or whatever, and it's like, okay, those are PG-13, but they're more kiddie than the 1990 one. So go figure. You know, and that one has more realistic violence too in the 1991. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just the rating itself has changed. There's a great documentary that's been out for almost like 15, 20 years now. It's called This Film Is Not Yet Rated. I think it's even on Netflix, or I mean, it was on Netflix, but I think it's on YouTube now. And yeah, it's a great documentary to see how just the ratings have changed over the years and who actually decides this shit. It's so arbitrary. It's weird. And the people who do it you don't even know who they are. But yeah, it's like, yeah. Anyway, not to go down that rabbit hole. We got super chats to go through.
Yeah. And a new one popped up. Liquor Jim, I will read yours. Do not worry, friend. So our friend, Mr. Tickle Trunk says, the good news is that overt widespread racism was on life support in the 2000s. Common humanity identity is the way. Fandoms are already there. Heart. Yeah, last night we talked about how Disney had covered or put out that tweet and, you know, the stuff that it was standing with and how people were upset about it. And I'm glad that people in the community realize that that's bullshit. So it's nice that, yeah, we're bringing this to people's attention and letting people know. But then the Star Wars fans are like, yeah, it's bullshit, but we're not like that. Our friend Andrew Matthews says,
speak for yourself.
Well, okay, fine. It's only fair that I'm only able to speak for myself.
That's right.
I'm
kidding, of course.
I'm incredibly. I don't like cats. Sorry, Jesse. I lied to you the whole time.
What? There's only two things in this world that I can't stand. That is people who are intolerant of others and the Dutch.
I love Mike Myers lost it, but man, when he had it, he was awesome, dude.
I love that. That's like the funniest joke in that movie.
Yeah. I think the one I go to in the very first one is allow myself to introduce myself. My name is Richie Cunningham, and this is my wife, Oprah.
Oprah. Just the way he says it, Oprah.
Oh, I'm glad they didn't lean. I'm glad they didn't lean too heavily on like a man at a time like they do with Captain America, because Austin Powers is a comedy. But that moment where he watches all the tapes and kind of gets caught up is like that perfect slice in that film to go, hey, this is how he would deal with it, and then it's back to the zany insanity.
Absolutely. No, and I hope we get another one someday, but I just don't think it'd be as good because the third one was just such a letdown, in my opinion.
It's one of those like a great joke, and then you add one extra punchline, and it's like, it just takes it away. That's how Austin Powers was for me. It was this cool movie, this amazing sequel that changed everything and the way I talk to people and stuff. And then you get to the third one, it's like mole, and that was like
it's the same jokes all over again. Exactly. Yeah. It's basically, you know what it is to me? It was that thing when it was really big in the 90s. They would release a greatest hits album, and then they would add like one or two new tracks to it, just so they could have something to promote it with. Like the biggest one I remember was Tom Petty's greatest hits having Mary Jane's Last Dance on it. Like, that's what it reminds me of. It's like you get a greatest hits album, but then you get one or two new songs. And that was, Austin Powers' dad, Michael Caine. That was the one or two new songs. Other than that, it was all just the greatest hits from the first two movies, basically.
I like that comparison. Andrew Matthews says, stories used to pose questions, not tell you what to think. Well, first off, Andrew, thank you very much for that super chat. Yeah, I know I sound like a broken record, but I go back to the Twilight Zone. That shit makes you think 60 years later.
I got that Blu-ray set. Have you got that yet?
No, I wanted to, when it came out, I was in a situation where I really couldn't afford it. And then it's been on Netflix in HD for so long, so I just kind of jumped to that. But one day I do plan on buying it.
If I ever see it on sale, I'll let you know.
Oh, yeah. I will definitely buy that because of the way I watch it on streaming, I skip season 4 because it's not on Netflix, but it's on Hulu. So I've been watching seasons 1 through 3 and then 5 for 6 years, something like that.
Well, that's weird.
So, yeah, it is weird because I know it's on Hulu and I have Hulu. I could just jump over, but my brain is so locked into, the hour-long episodes aren't on here. We don't watch those anymore, which I'm missing out because there's some good ones. The Dennis Hopper one, that's a pretty solid one.
Yeah, there's some great stuff in there.
Go Big Boar, go home. Thank you very much. He says the Quartering just covered a New York woman fired from her job for using Gab and Parlor. She didn't say anything offensive. She was fired for using them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable.
It is unacceptable.
That's fucked up. That's beyond fucked up.
And this is why I get mad about the High Republic topic, not because I'm a Star Wars nerd, it's because why isn't this lady held to the same standards for social media? I don't want this woman to be treated any different than anyone else. True equality. But at that level, when you get to work on Star Wars, no matter if you're a host of a show or, somebody writing an asinine book or a comic or something like that, you work for Star Wars. You represent it. I just expect a company, I know, call me old fashioned. I expect to not be called terrible things by a company after buying their products. And to go into your thing a little more in depth, Go Big Boar, go home. I don't know anything that goes on the social media platforms, the ones that aren't Facebook and Twitter. And I know there's a lot of people going after that stuff, and it's messed up. It's unacceptable just because you're there. That's like saying, well, I live adjacent to the street. Well, I can't have this job because I'm too close to traffic. There are just dumb things that companies, like if you're going to follow the guidelines, it has to follow the guidelines, not what could be or what you're afraid of or whatever. It's messed up. Mike's Comics says, speaking of the virus, look up the new testing measures for it overseas. Strip and bend over, Mr. Babar. Is that one me or two?
Moon River.
Now, I don't know if I didn't bring this up on the High Council, Tom, because I didn't really feel like it had a fit. But did you see that the WWE Network and Peacock are going to become one starting in March? They're gonna merge.
That's gonna be good for them.
It is, and it was my friend Dan, who's a huge wrestling fan. We've been friends since 2005, and we watch wrestling all the time. The first thing he says to me is, "Oh yeah, Peacock's getting the WWE Network. Peacock has Fletch." He went right to Fletch because he knows that's one of my all-time favorites. So, thank you, Mike's Comics, for bringing that one up.
Does it have Fletch Lives though?
Probably. I own Fletch Lives on Blu-ray. Did I? I have the soundtrack, which is not to be that guy, but as much as I wanted the Fletch soundtrack, getting the Fletch Lives soundtrack was kind of a disappointment because it's a lesser soundtrack.
Yeah.
And so it's cool. It's fun. I love to support
At
Harold
least
Faltermeyer.
it's close to get. Yeah, I was gonna say it's the closest we're gonna get probably to an actual score for the first film, because for some reason I don't know why they just haven't for the first movie. You just get those couple tracks, and it's like, yeah, but we want that score. That score is great.
It's almost as good as the Beverly Hills Cop score.
Almost. And I agree with you there. And when we almost got a chance to talk to him about stuff, I was going to bring that up to him because that's the thing that we were told up front is yeah, he knows everybody loves Axel F, but the least you can talk about that, the better. But I was going to bring up the fact that I think his Fletch, like you just said, his Fletch score is damn near as good as Beverly Hills Cop. Damn near, almost.
Yeah. There's a part. You'll know the scene I'm talking about when Fletch is watching Tim Matheson's character on the bridge, right as he figures out that Stanwyck's in bed with the cops and it's all a big conspiracy. When the music hits there, I'm like, man, that's a really cool moment. And it just sucks because being a Beverly Hills Cop fan, I had to listen to bootlegs for years. You know what this is like. And yeah, whatever you want to we listen to the bootlegs because we want to buy the official ones, but the companies won't give it. So as soon as they I literally jumped out of bed the minute I found that La La Land did Beverly Hills Cop and bought it. And I've been listening to it officially ever since. So I wonder, When you brought up that Harold Faltermeyer, because you had told me this before, do you think it's a rights issue, or do you think he just has been soured? Maybe he didn't come back for 3 or something like that, or
As far as
his take on Axel F. Usually,
I
know
think it's just because they're so well known for it. Probably it's just everybody wants to talk about it. Probably.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I know
that's my understanding. They didn't tell us why.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh man, did he get screwed over? Because I know, a lot of the reasons not to release certain things is just rights and royalties and shit. So
I gotta imagine. I mean, it could be something, but I gotta imagine because they didn't say we couldn't talk about it. They just said not every like. I gotta imagine that's the thing, and that's where like, oh yeah, man, we know because everybody forgets the guy did Fletch. He did music from that. It's Running Man. He did Top Gun. He did. What else? There's a couple of more I'm thinking of.
What is the one, the Midnight one in Turkey about smuggling the drugs? Midnight
Run?
Midnight Run, yeah, he did that one, I think.
The Midnight Run, yep. And he even did some up through, he did Cop Out for Flex Sake, I think.
I did know that one because I wanted to see Cop Out because I liked Kevin Smith, Harold Faltermeyer, and then I think I saw it on DVD when it first dropped, and I did not like that movie at all. And I was like, the soundtrack's cool, but I hate this movie. Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan just didn't mesh.
From what I heard, Bruce Willis is the one who ruined that movie.
I've heard.
Because I remember the script was brilliant.
Yeah. Well, Bruce Willis just seems so difficult to work with, which is sad because he's this legend that a lot of people would love to work with if he was easy to deal with. But
I guess Midnight Express is the movie. You're right.
I've never seen it. I just know the whole Billy and she puts her boob up to the window and then Jim Carrey.
Yeah. I was thinking Midnight Run's the one with
All De Niro, right?
Yeah. But no, we were saying about
Harold Faltermeyer?
Harold Faltermeyer, yeah. I mean, I think that's all it is. It's just, it's the thing that he's most well known for, and he's done so many other things that, if you had done 1 million characters and somebody just come up to you and said, one thing about this one character you did all the time, I'm sure you would be like, wouldn't it be nice if somebody, I'm sure George Lucas goes, oh, wouldn't it be nice if somebody just come up to me and talk to me about Willow for once?
I will say, though, I understand that, but those people are incredibly lucky to be so well known.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if somebody says, Jeff, you're going to be well known and have this great career, but you're only going to be known for this one thing and everyone's going to come up to you for it, but you'll be successful. That's cool. It's like, I know Stan Lee created 1,000,001 characters, or co-created, excuse me, but a lot of people probably went Spider-Man, and he embraced it and he went with it.
Yeah,
Bob
another
King
guy
Bob King created one character and really ran with it forever. So
yeah, and same thing, Gary Wolf. Like he embraces the Roger Rabbit love, even though he's written dozens of other books or whatever, and he's even had, other successes beyond Roger Rabbit, but he just embraces it and he loves it because he knows that's what's going to be on his, epitaph or whatever. the creator of Roger Rabbit, Well,
if you got to be remembered for something, I think there's worse things to be remembered for.
No, but on the other end, I do understand where Harold's coming from if that's the case, because it's not like he just did one thing. He's done many other things. It's just that one overshadows all the other. And it shouldn't. It's sad because Total Recall. It's Running Man is even a great score there too.
I was watching that movie the other day. It's weird how we live in the Running Man future because Jesse and I, out of boredom, will watch these game shows on Hulu. And there's this one called Tag, right? Is it Ultimate Tag? Ultimate Tag. It's like the Running Man minus the death. It's really weird how certain future, I mean, Stephen King, so whatever, but Stephen King wrote this future dystopian or whatever, and fucking Ray Bradbury's the weirdest one for me because Fahrenheit 451, we get philosophical for a moment. If you go back and look at that, the wife on the pain prescription drugs and the TVs the size of the walls and checking out and burning books. Like we kind of live in that reality. I know everyone goes 1984, but I haven't read it, so I don't know exactly. But Fahrenheit 451 is just as scary and just as real. Like we live in all these weird dystopian realities and we don't know it. We're kind of just like okay with it. It's scary.
Yep.
Dragon Han, thank you very much. He says, if Lucasfilm can say that they don't want me, a fan, a single or straight white male, it's only fair that I can say I don't want them writing, creating, or producing my Star Wars. I think that's kind of fair, Dragon Han. I'm a firm believer that once these movies enter the public sphere, I know legally we don't own them, but in a way they're the fans, because if the fans didn't keep that shit alive, it just wouldn't be a property that they could mine for money. Mike's comic says, I'll give Star Wars The High Republic one thing. They brought back orange lightsabers. Remember Jedi Knights multiplayer? Only time I ever saw that color. Okay, so Ahsoka had a yellow lightsaber. I thought somebody else.
Yellow.
Let's see. Who else had an orange lightsaber?
Well, I think wasn't hers white in the show though? A Mandalorian, it was. I think anyway.
Yeah, it was. Maybe. Oh, is Rey's lightsaber orange? No, hers is yellow.
No,
right?
hers is more yellow.
Hers is dumb too. I'm Rey Skywalker. A year later, and that movie still sucks just as much. It didn't get better. Jeffrey Turner, thank you very much. He says C-3PO isn't gay. He's a timid, whiny, robotic butler. Yeah, I think that was just a joke last night, man.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, see, he knows what's up.
Yeah,
it was just a joke.
Yeah. I saw Jeffrey post that last night. I'm like, it's a joke. It's okay. Just move on. It's all right. He's a robot. He doesn't have sex. We get it.
I mean, Han Solo did plug him up to the computer, though, and we do know that the woman. Wait, the Millennium Falcon is a woman, so he was plugged into her. So maybe not.
Wall. That's why he didn't like the dialect.
How rude! I know it was later, but still.
What a peculiar dialect.
Space Monkey 0899. This was for Chris Gore last night. By the way, folks, Chris was so much fun and so cool to stream with, and we'll be talking with him in the future. So everything went well, and we had a lot of fun. Did you have a lot of fun with him, man?
Sorry, I was answering Jesse, actually, believe it or not, in the background. Actually, yeah, I had a great time. I hope he follows me back because I'd love to set some stuff up with him. Like, yeah, definitely would love to do more with Chris. It was awesome. I was taken aback that he actually has listened to us. I'm like, just like, wow, because this guy is Chris. I mean,
yeah,
he's everything, like you said last night, all the things that he's done. Like, my TV was stuck on G4 for I don't know how many years. I worked at an ISP. I don't think the damn thing left that channel. Like, that's all we watched. So, like, I mean, this guy was part of my life for many years. So it was just kind of weird. And the moment I heard his voice, and it was surreal as fuck. Like, even Jesse, I think, said something to me in private about, I don't think I've ever heard you this speechless before. So, like,
you were just like, oh thanks.
Well, it's really fun that
awesome.
Our reach goes to the people that influenced us. That's kind of, I don't want to make it like a big thing, but it's like almost humbling in a way. It's like, oh, cool, the dude that influenced this and that and was a big part of this now watches us. And it's a nice cyclical thing. And now we all get to stream together and work together. So the world's a funny place, man. So Space Monkey 0899 sent in a super chat for clarification. Says, very short explanation. Jedi wear combat armor in the Old Republic, then stopped after Darth Bane.
Yeah, we were talking about that, and I didn't get to really chime in on it, but that was just because, Chris was just going off on it, which was great. But I was just kind of felt, and this is my personal thing, like, after seeing Return of the Jedi, I assumed that practically Jedis probably wore that. They wore the robe, but underneath, they had something that was, close to your body. It was practical. It's more like a fencing kind of outfit, basically. I know Jesse would know what I'm talking about, to where, you don't want things hanging off you and all this other crap.
Yeah, accurate.
Well, I always wondered why. I know Luke's the way of the Jedi and all this stuff, but I like that Luke never stopped using a blaster, and I really wish they would have kept that with his character, because he doesn't have that traditional approach, and he doesn't stop flying X-Wings and doing all this other shit, so why should he lose that part of his character? Like,
well,
that's my big complaint with Luke.
Well,
that kind of goes... Oh, go ahead, Jesse. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was going to say that's actually a concern I have with the way they've positioned him in this Mandalorian universe. If they're going to keep him in their Star Wars world, is exactly that. If he becomes this, just the moral center, the new Jedi, the new Obi-Wan, it really does a disservice to the character of Luke Skywalker, who is pointedly different. I almost think a lot of what Lucas does in the prequels is to highlight how Luke goes his own way, how he's not a real Jedi in the traditional sense. He sets up this whole order to show you kind of how special Luke is. And so to just slough him off as like, okay, now he's just the new, Jedi Order, is really kind of does a disservice to the character that was created.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as like I was just going to say is like, I mean, I always I don't understand why they presented Jedi as like being all anti, gun anyway, because the only one who really would be Obi-Wan. Because he doesn't like him.
Exactly.
It's like anybody else, it's more practical to use a gun unless you're facing off with a Jedi or whatever, then yeah.
Exactly. There's no reason. I mean, honestly, even even in the prequel era, in the lore we get from the movies, there is no reason why Jedi should be opposed to blasters. It's just, that Obi-Wan attitude of they're haughty about it because, they think their lightsabers are better. But there's no reason why you shouldn't have regular Jedi who also, use different types of weapons and stuff.
Yeah, because in most cases, a lightsaber is not going to help you when you got 1,000 troopers blasting at you. But anyway,
yeah, exactly.
Like they even say in the movie, we can't fight a war for you.
Exactly.
There weren't enough people, and they're not equipped.
That's
for that.
not their thing. They're not an army. Exactly.
And I get that. Yeah,
and I think that's something, Jeff, that you bring up a lot too, is how Lucas really dicked himself by making the Jedi these stoic monks in the prequels because it cut himself off from so many possibilities.
And I was a kid back then, you were a kid back then. It wasn't cool. I went to Catholic school. Priests were priests and they were boring. I didn't want a guy standing there in robes with his hands waiting to fight with a lightsaber. This isn't like an ancient monk. Like the Jedi wasn't as Western as they like, or no, sorry, the Jedi's not as Eastern as everyone acts like it is all of a sudden. It was always this perfect blend. And I always go back to look how Luke Skywalker was written for decades between the old movies and the prequels, and even how he's written in the books, the EU stuff during when the prequels were out. Like he really doesn't change this severely until now. And you know what? It sucks. I'm glad he's around, but I'm hoping that they just kind of pull back from him and don't touch him anymore.
Well,
I hear you.
And this is just my impression I got as a kid when Obi-Wan was explaining what the Jedi were. I saw them more as like a police force, but not like a forceful police force, but because they were how did Obi-Wan put it? They were the keepers of peace and justice, wasn't it? Is that what he said?
For 1,000 generations.
Yeah, that sounds like cops to me.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? On that note, too, if they continue to use Luke exactly the way they used him in the Mandalorian season finale, where he's your Deus Ex Machina character that can just show up because he is that badass, and that was the whole thing. That's why it's such a beautiful. It was such a parts of that episode were so well structured, where they have they took 2 episodes to set up how badass these droids are and do a whole thing showing how, there's no way you could ever contend with the whole force of them. So when the whole fleet of them come back, you have to have somebody justifiably that good to take them down. And I mean, I think that's why everyone loved that moment, because it really gave him that honor. If that's how you use Luke in your franchise moving forwards, pop him in to just do something super badass and save the day like the fucking hero he is, I don't think anyone would have a complaint.
And if they make it look better and better.
Exactly. They can improve on the technology, because that definitely needs work.
I just don't want it to open the door for them to do any more
They don't need to develop him anymore. They don't need to tell his story anymore. God knows we've already seen them try. They hit it right. Now they just got to keep hitting it.
Yeah. Or I think just leave them alone.
Or just leave it alone. Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with Mando Merc. I always saw the Jedi as wizard space cops. Yeah, basically like monks mixed with cops.
Yeah.
They weren't so much forceful, but if there was some kind of injustice going on, they would step in, like they kind of did in the beginning of episode 1. Like that wasn't out of step for what I expected the Jedi to be involved in to a point, but then it just got boring because it was a bunch of negotiations and shit that went nowhere. And anyway, but it had its cool moments.
I would love it. I would love a show where it was like a gritty crime world or whatnot, and like the highest muscle, like a John Wick world. And when you really were in the shit, instead of calling John Wick, you called the Jedi. That was the thing. Like your Jedi showed up on your show like every few episodes. It's just like the crew, oh, what do we do? Call the Jedi. That's like your trump card.
Exactly. And even look at the situation when they go to that city in Attack of the Clones, and he wants to sell them death sticks or whatever. Imagine a whole story about the Jedi taking down a death stick ring.
Yeah, I would be so into that, or even a show that was about the nitty gritty in Coruscant, and you treat the Jedi. You could even do one where it's where it's the flip of that, where you show the Jedi investigating stuff and taking down that, and then you do it like you have on TV with all your different divisions. You have the Coruscant PD, and the Jedi in that one are cast as the obnoxious FBI agents who always come and step on their toes.
That would actually be a really fun show.
Wouldn't that be that's the kind of stuff I thought we were being promised when they talked about wanting to bring Star Wars into exploring the universe in different genres. That's what you have an opportunity with such a rich, fully fleshed out universe with Star Wars, is exactly that. Any genre you want can fit in this universe because the universe is already written.
Yeah. By the way, folks, we do have 3 super chats from today. I think I'm going to read those since the people here in the chat, and then we're going to keep continuing on with everything. So first off, Infinite Wonder says, Smith's YouTube exploit isn't anything terrible. It's just using the community post feature to get it advertised to users who wouldn't normally see you. Well, I'm going to have to be extra careful with that because it is written about any kind of exploits. But thank you, Infinite Wonder. Liquor Jim says, The High Republic coming soon to an Ollie's near you. By the truckload. Sad that Ram Jammer, Liexkiasi, and the bestest ever will still be overpriced.
Well, one thing I don't think we got to last night is that did show up on like the bestseller list for some reason. One of them did. The Light of the Force or some shit like that, whatever the name of it is.
I made a video on it, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you did make it. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
And the thing was, it debuted at #1. In the video, I go and show you that you can buy your way onto the New York Times bestseller list. And I said it's important to find out where the book goes. And the following week, it dropped to #4. So, yes, it's sold. It's doing whatever. But appearing on the New York Times bestseller list is not necessarily amount of books sold. And in the video, I go and show because the thing is, Tom, they almost got sued multiple times because they're basically, to get out of trouble in court, they said, well, it's more of a subjective thing. It's editorial, so they can't get sued. So it's not necessarily just hey, this book sold 150,000 copies. It makes the list.
Like,
Right.
actually legally not technically news.
Yeah, and there's so many like weird little pieces of minutia that go into what the New York Times bestseller list is. And so once you look at it and then you see how it performs, it puts things in perspective. Not to be a douche like, haha, it's failing. Don't tell me it's doing better than it actually is, because
Rob compared it to Amazon, and it's like way down the list on Amazon. And like I asked him, I'm like, rhetorically, I'm like, and who sells the most books?
And we also noted too, Tom, Ann and I were looking at the Matriarchy last week, and books that are on pre-sale are already marked down, some as much as 50% off.
And that's part of the New York Times bestseller thing, because there's like 5 different ways they do it, and those pre-sale sale prices are part of it. Like it's about there's like 5 things. The one is self-fulfilling, something's manipulation, something else. Yeah. And that pops up there, what you and Anna were talking about.
And because we talked about that too, where like we didn't discount the fact that, they could have inflated the price and are charging, they're not really discounting it. They just did the, we want to make you feel like you're getting money off. But the whole point is when you roll out a new product that you're going ham on with your advertising that you believe will succeed, you don't roll out your brand new thing at a discount. You roll it out at full price and you knock it down if it doesn't do well. I mean, that's basic sales 101. You don't have to go to business school to understand that.
Well, I mean, like the first week debut, like in media, you get your $20 Blu-ray, but if you miss it, it goes up to $27.99.
Yeah, but those are actually loss leaders usually.
So like even there, it's all about looking good.
Exactly.
And the fans go, all right, we're not going to bite. And then the company goes, we're just going to keep pumping it out. So who actually, what is the point?
Every single title is marked down already. It's not like, because again, I could see if it's, there's a couple you want to mark down and really push them out. And then a couple others you're going to keep full price once you get people in on the product, maybe the first ones, but everyone, the ones, the ones that are going to be out in the next couple days, the ones that have probably come out since we looked, and the ones that are not coming out till next month are all discounted.
It blew my mind too. And that's, with our Star Wars toy videos we made all those years ago, usually a big movie its merchandise doesn't drop in price 3 weeks after it launched, even if it's around Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, and if it's selling, that's another thing. Like I noticed a great example is the Godzilla merchandise has not left the shelves, and it has not been discounted. And they just replaced the other stuff with the new. So that means it's been like 2 years almost now since that last Godzilla movie came out. They've had that stuff on the shelf until they moved in the Kong stuff with it here like 3 months ago or whatever it was. Dang. And it's still there. None of it's been discounted. It's selling obviously. And I know that because I used to try and get for a while with the when they brought out the last one, they had a line of classic versions of all the bad guys and Godzilla and a few different versions of Godzilla. And I was having a hard time finding them. Because they were selling so much, and like there were still a couple of those I never got my hands on that I was pissed about that I could probably find on eBay, but they're probably 2 or 3 times the price now.
Naturally. So, I would say something about that to Jeff. Was looking at something the other day and he was like, I don't know if this is going to go down or up or this, and I was like, you know what, do it now because you'll be happier. It'll be worse. It'll be better to spend a little too much now and find out it went down a bit later than to not get it now and have to spend like 8 times as much down the
Right.
line.
Speaking of spending, apparently one of my invoices came in.
Yeah.
My Inspector Gadget figure's ready from Japan.
Yay!
So I have to pay that and then get ready for that. That's going to be exciting. I'm going to be putting that shit on Patreon, folks.
Go Gadget Mail.
That is my absolute favorite cartoon character. Like, over Mickey Mouse. I don't like Mickey Mouse at all. Not a fan. Bugs Bunny, like him, Daffy, all those. Gadget. And I also don't put like Spider-Man and people that appear in other mediums as cartoon characters.
Fair enough.
Because like Batman, I like Batman more than Inspector Gadget.
But he's not just a cartoon. He is a character that appears in a cartoon.
Yeah.
He is not a cartoon character.
Yeah.
Inspector Gadget is a cartoon character of whom live action movies have been made, but he is a cartoon character.
So our friend Jeffrey Turner says on Karate Kid Watch Party, I'll tell you my Beverly Hills Cop 3. You mean story or like your version of the movie? Because Beverly Hills Cop 3 could use a nice rewrite.
I think
number 4.
Yeah, he's been wanting to tell us his take on what he would have done.
Oh, okay.
I honestly don't hate the movie. My only issue with I can see what the problem is, and that is like later on we found out was that Eddie Murphy didn't want to be funny for some reason. So
Which is a mistake.
Yeah, so the studio told John Landis, do whatever you can to make Eddie funny without him knowing it. So they basically had to bowfinger that motherfucker.
The weird part is, Tom, when that movie was the newest, well, it's still technically the newest one, but I got into Beverly Hills Cop when that movie was only about 2 years old, so it was still fresh in people's minds.
Theaters, man, opening night.
How'd you feel when you left?
I was all right with it. I mean, at the time, I didn't mind it. I thought it was like, at that point, it was like, fuck, I got a Beverly Hills Cop movie and it's been almost 10 years. So I was like happy. You know, it was just, I thought we were never going to get another one. At that point, too, Eddie Murphy was not a hot commodity anymore. Like he had just come off some of his lesser films. And, this was just before Vampire in Brooklyn. So this was like that tipping point just before he did Nutty Professor with the comeback. So at that point, it was kind of like, I guess I took it as, how do you put it? It could have been a hell of a lot worse kind of thing. So I was just happy that it wasn't a piece of trash. But in hindsight, it's obviously the lesser of the 3 by far.
Oh God, yeah. The music is one of my number one complaints. It's Niles Rodgers. He's a talented musician, but it just doesn't fit the theme of the movie. I mean, fucking horns in Beverly Hills Cop. Come on, dude.
See, now that was something I would have wanted to ask him about, and I don't know if I would have been able to. Harold Faltermeyer, about what the fuck happened there.
I would have asked him, and if they would have told me like you can't ask it, I would apologize and moved back.
Pretty much.
When here's the thing, if I ever talk to him, I think a lot of people might have a million questions about that single song Axel F. But like one of the most fascinating things I ever got was the CD booklet that came with that Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack, and talking about all the technical shit and how his schedule was like that's like, I'm not really interested in learning about why the song sounds this way. It's more like if I ever met him and asked him, it would be like, so your timetable was this, blah, blah, blah. Satisfaction, those kind of questions. I feel like those are really important, that most people go like to Harrison Ford, oh, Han Solo, what was it like playing him? And then he answers the same question for like 50 years and gets tired of it. But nobody ever asks him about the satisfaction you get from, seeing a kid dressed up as the character and how your legacy lasts forever, that kind of shit. So that's where I think a lot of people that have these big hits kind of forget that, yeah, it's a big hit and it's saccharine and whatever, but it still means a lot to a lot of people. So I'd love to talk to him about it one day. He is a musical inspiration. So let's see, where were we in terms?
If I had to guess, it probably had something to, because I know Nile Rodgers produced the soundtrack, like the pop soundtrack on top of it. Mm-hmm. So like it may have something to do with that, and maybe that just some Eddie's choice, perhaps. Because I know Eddie had a lot to say in the other 2 soundtracks, because he pushed for that Rick James track that got taken off the soundtrack, remember?
Oh yeah, because that was his best buddy.
Yeah, so like I wouldn't be surprised if that might have had something to do with it. I never know.
Johnny GTO says, no, I want a show shot like cops on Fox called Jedi. Well,
they did that with the Stormtroopers, remember that?
Yeah, Troops. I love that. Did you ever see the fan film Batman Dead End where he fights the Predator and the Alien? So do you remember that, like, that era of fan films felt extra special because those were like some of the first times you got to see those characters done that well, not officially. And Troops was one of those ones that always sticks in my mind. Yeah, it's 25 years old almost at this point, so it's dated. man, they got it so right back then. I love it.
Yeah, it was great. Well, they had a lot of fun fan films back then. That was like what I remember was like built YouTube, was like just all these little funny videos all over the place, animation, and Star Wars fan films were very prevalent. Of course, even then, Sci-Fi used to run the contest with George Lucas and Lucasfilm. That was fun.
Star Wars before my era, but when it was still fun.
There were some really cool little short films, and I think Troops even became part of that too, or at least like was one of the inaugural deals for it. But what I remember specifically was an animation where George Lucas meets Jar Jar Binks in a bar, and he's just like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, it's just not working out." And Jar Jar's like, "What? Me's no good." And after he's just going on, and George Lucas pulls out a keyboard, and it's just like Control, Alta, Deleta, and he disappears. It's like. And then during the credits, you hear, "God, if only I had one of those for Howard the Duck." That was like always one of my favorite ones. That was one of those too that was in that contest back in the day. God, that's probably like 20 years old now. Jeez.
I'm getting to the point where it's like, oh yeah, 20 years ago. I'm like, shit, I remember 2001 vividly. Oh well. Let's see. Our friend Space Monkey 0899, thank you again. He says, I saw the Jedi as shogunate. Samurais were religious, but also a ruling class. I'll have to check out more of that history. I know Star Wars is influenced by 1,000,001 things, but I would be lying to you if I said I've read everything that's influenced Star Wars. I don't think everyone has. But, if that's his idea, that's what he was going for, cool. But I will also say, I think when you're a creator and you're trying to create new, I think you don't always remember what elements go into the other part. You're like, oh, I have this new chance to do these things. And then you're like, well, we'll fix it later. Infinite Wanderer says, I don't know if you heard, but Arch got his channel back. Well, Infinite Wanderer, you're the first person telling me this, but I'm very happy for him. So Arch Warhammer is back on YouTube, folks. Now, folks, we're going to jump back to the other super chats from last night because the other ones start to get super, super long, and I don't want to make anyone else wait. So Sydney Layfield, thank you very much, says, bro, all I care about is getting one of those volumes that they use on The Mandalorian. It would be sick for photos and gaming, LMAO. I don't remember exactly the context of this one. Do you, Tom?
Not offhand.
The volume they use on The Mandalorian.
Oh, I know what he's talking about. He's talking about the set. The set. It'd be like being surrounded by a big VR set, basically.
Oh, okay.
And play your video games on that. Yeah, it'd be like basically like being in VR, I suppose, without having the headset almost.
I would be nervous because if I play like a Doom game, like in first person, and all of a sudden a giant demon's coming at me, I'm probably going to be like, oh. Have we ever had the first noted heart attack death from gaming excitement, like in VR yet? Has that been a thing? Because
maybe because I know like whenever they do those presentations, they usually warn people with like motion sickness or heart problems and things like that not to do it.
I always read those ones for the epilepsy warnings, and I'm like, oh, they should put these in. Remember the old joke in the 90s, how all this, well, not a joke, but remember back in the day when all those kids saw Pokemon and they had the seizures, and then The Simpsons parodied it. Every time I watch like an anime or an anime show, they have, whatever at the front. I'm like, where's the photosensitive warning? I'm waiting for somebody to like, have a seizure because of this show. That was one of those things we worried about back in the day. It's like, oh my God, anime. It could cause a seizure.
Yeah. I can't believe there wasn't any seizure warnings for Spider-Verse. After I saw that, I couldn't believe it.
Maybe they thought, well, people saw the trailer. They'll get the message.
Maybe.
Adam Wofford says, they should look like knights, but in space. I think King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table, but again in space with wizards like Merlin. Now, we had heard earlier that the Jedi stopped wearing their power armor after Darth Bane. So, do you think there is I think Jedi armor could be cool. Well, you wouldn't want to wear a battle armor suit all the time. And look how stupid they are with the stormtroopers. Robes.
No, just Luke's black suit just makes more practicality sense for a Jedi, I would think. But anyway, sorry, you were going to say.
Oh, no, he does make sense because all he does is flip off his hood and lose his cloak, and he's ready for action. I mean, yeah, we saw Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon take off their robes and get ready to fight and all that stuff. But I feel like a long flowing robe makes you way more dangerous. Not to the others, but for yourself. Like, what is that? The Incredibles, when he's like, no capes. Why? Because the what's his face got sucked into the airplane engine. And at the end, how do they beat Bucky or Banky or whatever his fucking name is? He gets sucked into the airplane because of his cape. Like, I think as a Jedi doing all these flashy moves and fighting, I'd want to have clothes not tight to my body, but around me and not flowing so I don't trip up or fuck
Exactly.
up. Rhino4563, thank you very much. I haven't heard from you in a minute. He says, Chris, we share the same birthday. Cheers. My question is, was Olivia Munn as annoying on Attack of the Show as she was in real life? Now,
Shit.
Rhino, what I'm going to do is because we talked to Chris last night and we had a great time. We will be streaming with him again. I'm going to take these pictures and I will email them to him. If I get a response back, awesome. If not, I will still hold on to the photos. And you guys can remind me to ask him next time he appears with us. So, Rhino, thank you very much. And I'd like to know that one too, because she went from that show and now she's an actress and all this other stuff. And so I've heard all kinds of stories about her. Not personally, nothing from him. So I'd love to hear that kind of stuff. Barney, the Nuclear Source Woke Reeks says, Chris, have you tried interviewing Nick Utam of WCBS? He's an indie horror filmmaker. I'm going to shoot this along the way to Chris. Obviously, I wanted to read this one on air because the answer is, yeah, he's all into indie horror filmmaking. And my buddy Nick has made multiple ones. So who knows? But Nick always likes to be interviewed. Samurai Vader, thank you very much. He says, looked up Chris Gore, and I don't appreciate that Slave Leia cosplay. A crime against my eyes, but I do appreciate that shirt with Larry with a gun.
I know what he's talking about.
I'll pull that up for the audience real quick. Chris Gore, Slave Leia. Let's see. Wow, that one shows his leg. This one is better. Chris, I wish I would have remembered to show this last night because
I'm sure he's glad you didn't.
Yeah, he was so much fun. Last thing I wanted to do is go, oh god,
Yeah, he was so awesome.
There's the photo. Folks. There are multiple of these. He posed for this. So, Chris Gore from G4 Slave Leia photo album on Flickr.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen this one. I don't remember the butt, so that's a new.
It's a good way to start your Wednesday. It's weird. I feel like it's so early in the day, but where I am, it's 1:00, so it's not early. Christopher Talk, thank you very much. He says, who put their cools out on my floor? I love that movie. Does that have a 4K release yet, Tom?
Which one?
Trading Places?
Oh, yeah. No, it does, but only digital. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, the Blu-ray just came out, which comes from the 4K master, but for some reason, Paramount's been real picky and choosy on what they release in 4K, but they always put a lot of them out on digital now. So I do have a 4K version on digital, which it's a little bit better than the Blu-ray since it's digital, but yeah.
Well, I have that new Blu-ray release, the one that you're talking about, because I just like Eddie Murphy that much. But when they do drop that one, that's a day one purchase, dude. No one, well, you guys don't know this about me in the audience, but the day the Beverly Hills Cop 4K disc came, I was like, oh my God. And I ripped it open out of the package and I put it on right away. I was like, I have to watch these scenes, Jesse. And she's like, okay. And we sat there and we watched the movie.
It does so much better than it used to.
His pants are a different color. That's the part that blows my mind. I'm like, oh, Axel Foley looks a certain way. I'm like, when the color's done right, his shit's a different shade of blue. And it's not that it's important. It's my memory knows it is one way, and then the reality is a different way. So I have that weird disconnect, but it's fun because I'm like, oh, now I get to see how it was really meant to be.
Yeah, because as far as I know, they went back to the original negative for this one, so that's why it looks so good. So,
well, every time they do that, I'm willing to take the extra steps to buy the physical thing because I know that they're putting in the effort, so I'll put in I'll give the money to it. So it's a way of saying, hey, make my favorite shit look good, and I'll be happy to buy it.
Huge improvement over the older Blu-ray, that's for sure.
Oh, dude, I am not a videophile the way you are, but Beverly Hills Cop, when he comes up the stairs when he's about to go into his apartment and Mikey had broke in, that the film grain and the DNR and all this stuff in that one scene was like, there's this cluster right over his face. Yeah. And I never thought Beverly Hills Cop looked that good until the second, the one that came out last year at the beginning, that 3-disc set, that looked good because it's the remaster. And then the new one looked amazing. So
yeah, that remaster is actually the same 4K, but yeah, it's just on Blu-ray instead. Yeah.
Paulo West, thank you very much. He says, our franchises have become nothing more than a feather in the cap of these entertainment monopolies. They now believe they can dictate to the consumer.
Pretty much.
Didn't Chris mention that last night when we were talking about movie marketing and how the guys used to not sit in on movie marketing, but now the marketers are in on the creative process because, they have to figure out how to market things a certain way.
They're also the ones that took over the DVD side of things too. Yeah. That's why, the old cool special editions we used to get went out the window, and guys like Robert went out of work because, marketing guys took over. That's why they look like shit too. Like the covers and crap nowadays.
Because they're super generic photoshops for the Walmart $5 bin.
It's the marketing people putting the shit together.
I know it seems, idealistic or whatever, but I'm not opposed to getting those nice sets. Like, that's why Shout Factory the other day, somebody asked me about anime and the new super chats for today. Like, I picked up the new Lupin the Third movie, the CGI Blu-ray set and all this extra bonus shit because it looks like a cool set. And when it comes to that, like Star Wars, dude, I thought they dropped the ball on the Star Wars 4K set. How did people not even talk about that one more? I mean, that's just that final embarrassment. We're going to launch the original trilogy, the big saga box set, and it's not even that good.
Yeah, you would think they would have done a lot for that, and they didn't do anything. I mean, I was disappointed when George Lucas released it in 2011, and the shit he added was really kind of meh. Outside of the hour documentaries we got on it, the old school ones that were on TV, which are nice to have. We didn't get from Star Wars to Jedi. There's so many other great things we didn't get on there. It's just like the deleted scenes were nice and having those documentaries, but outside of that, it was like he dropped Empire of Dreams, which it would have been nice to have an HD version of that, because the HD version that's on Disney is the cut version.
It's weird how I watched that on Disney Plus and there's these new scenes and these moments. I'm like, oh, come on, not again.
The shit he added in the 4K. Yeah.
Like, he went back and made sure that the scenes that were altered in their new versions were altered in Empire of Dreams. So it's like, yeah, I get it. Wicket blinks. Whoop-de-doo.
For fuck's sake. They did that too. Yeah, because that's actually the shorter version of that documentary. Because I was like all jazzed. I'm like, oh, cool, it's in HD. And then I saw the running time. I'm like, you fuckers. It's the fucking TV version.
Dude, the first one, I caught the TV version the day it launched. It was on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
That was one of those times where I was so locked into the TV because everything that they were saying to me, I wanted to hear 10 times over. So I think it was on Tuesday was like of that week. It was Sunday night was the first part, and then Tuesday the DVD set came out. So I remember getting that box set, and of course I watched Star Wars to see what it looked like in widescreen, and then I jumped right to that set or that special features disc. Wasn't amazing, but there was some good shit on there, and I'm mad that doesn't carry over because most places like Spider-Man carries over all their special. Well, yeah. Up until a certain point, they had carried all of them. I don't know.
I don't know what it is with Lucas in that. Like, yeah, he's very, for some reason, he would never carry over the same special features from one edition to the other. I don't know why. Because even the great documentaries on the prequels are gone on the Blu-rays.
Those are amazing ones too.
Yeah, the beginning is a fucking, like, anybody who ever wants to make a movie should watch the beginning. That is like, should be like film school 101 on how not to make a fucking movie. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love the Phantom Menace for certain things, but you're literally watching a train wreck in real time happening on that documentary, and it's amazing balls. Like all the shit we goof on, George, comes from that documentary.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's poetry, it rhymes. All that shit. Jar Jar is the key to all this. All that shit comes from that documentary. I may have gone too far in a few places. All of it. And I love when he got Steven in there and he's showing him that droid, and Steven's just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. He doesn't say it, but you can see the look on his face where he's just like, George is really bought into this shit, huh? He's just like
while we were talking about it briefly, I looked up a little more of the Star Wars Blu-ray set that we're didn't buy. It's got glitches apparently in some of the pressings, and I'm laughing at it too because like they have all these pictures of the artifacting and the breaking down. There you go, folks. You guys can check it out for yourself.
Oh, I didn't know about that. I only bought Star Wars Empire and Jedi on 4K because they had new Dolby Atmos mixes. Otherwise, I go to the 4K 88, 4K 77 and 4K 83 or the specialized editions. I can't stand the special fucking editions. I can't. I just.
I know I keep asking you, or you keep offering to, but yes, I would. When you remember, please hook me up with the 4K 77 and 83 because I would love to test them out on this television. Like,
Yeah, they're huge files though. That's the only downside. They're just
I have, dude. Worst case scenario, I would just mail your ass a hard drive and be like, here you go.
that would probably be the easiest thing for to do is honestly, I'd probably just get one and then put them on there and send it to you. But yeah, like because I'd wait for 4K 80 because that should be coming soon, I think. But also the cool thing is whoever put those together also put they actually did a scan of from Star Wars to Jedi from a 16 millimeter print. Looks amazing, and there's a couple other goodies in there they threw in that aren't on the Blu-rays or DVDs. So yeah, it's whoever put that stuff together, I applaud them because they did a hell of a job. And watching the movie, you're just like, I mean, almost brought a tear to my eye because it's just like I have not seen this movie like this since I was a kid, and just something about the feeling of it that's missing in the 4K version of the newer ones. Because the new ones just feel so cold and empty.
I think it's a lot of the digital
noise
production and stuff.
I think so, because like once you even with the pops and the scratches and all, there's just still also this warm aura about it, and it's just a warmth that I can't explain when I'm watching them. Especially Return of the Jedi, because that one was butchered the worst. But like, yeah,
we actually watched Return of the Jedi the other day because I picked up. My mom mails me stuff all the time, and she mailed me this graphic novel as Return of the Jedi recoloring or whatever. So I was flipping through it, and I was like, Return of the Jedi had the artistry that the other two had, but it like amplified it almost too much. But it's such an interesting, process. Like, I'll give George Lucas credit. It's like, I need to populate Jabba's palace. Nobody half-assed it. They didn't really half-ass it until they threw in Sebulba on the Blu-ray disc set, 10 years ago. But like, I that's why like Empire to Jedi, or from Star Wars to Jedi, and all those special features and things were so cool to me, because like the poster of him in that warehouse with all the ships laid out, that goes hand in hand with that warmth of Star Wars, because they never hid how they did it. And so it almost made the movies even cooler because, oh yeah, these are models and this and that. But when I watch it, it looks so real. And I don't know, I felt like I was involved with Star Wars much more than anything else because Lucas opened up the process unlike any other movie for me at that time. I didn't know how they made a James Bond movie, and I didn't know how they made Batman. You just watch the tape. That was it.
Yeah, I loved those as a kid because we didn't get them very often, those like specials, the making ofs and all that stuff. Because like, yeah, Star Wars were one of those that showed a few times when I was a kid. We got one for the Superman movies. Other than that, it wasn't until like the Batman movies that I remember getting some. I guess we got a few here and there that I missed out that I found on YouTube, like for Jaws 3 and a couple other random movies. But
did you ever see the Indiana Jones one that they had out?
Yeah, I did. Well, eventually on DVD, I mean. But I didn't get to see it when it first came out. No, unfortunately. I think I seen the one I think I seen a 5-minute deal on like Showtime or HBO for Last Crusade as a kid. But like, that was the same thing. Like, I remember the Back to the Future thing. I remember seeing that interview with Bob Zemeckis where he fucking says that the hoverboards are real. And then the companies just wouldn't let him out. And so, I was one of those people for years. Like, I'm like, no, he fucking said that. Even though we know he's full of shit, he said it. And then they finally put it on that one release of the Blu-ray, that one behind the scenes deal where he says it finally to make us all vindicated. Like, we knew he said it. Because it was this little 15-minute, or 10-minute thing on Showtime. That was the making of Back to the Future 2. And he said it on there, yeah.
They did a making of Spider-Man, and I was so excited that I taped over Skinemax for it. So making of movies are really important to me.
Oh, man. That shows dedication for you.
And, God, almost 19 years later at this point, I kind of regret it because I'm like, that special feature was on the DVD. But, oh well, Spider-Man's more important than, anything else to me.
I still have that big old box set that came out for the first Spider-Man DVD with the Stan Lee, Kevin Smith DVD that came with it, the comic and all that shit. I think you have it, too. I think we brought that up before. I
rode a bus at 14 years old, fucking across town, over highways and shit, because I had to have that set before I had to have it the minute it came out. So my mom called the store and goes, my son's coming up with my debit card. I approve the purchase, blah, blah, blah. And explained it to him. They had it waiting for me. I took it home. Dude, that box set was so fun.
I could almost imagine you doing that. That's awesome. Because I'd have done the same shits.
Because when I went to, because it was November 1st was the day it was released. I went to a private Catholic school, and November 1st is a religious holiday. So the day after Halloween's always just been an off day for me. So I treated it like, I'm off school. Fuck it. I'm going to do something like an adult. And it was cool, man. Let's see. Our friend Adam Wofford says, how can we get boys into Barbie? Turn Ken into Ghost Rider. Canon with Spike makes G.I. Joe a part of Barbie. Also add werewolves.
Werewolves work. And karate. Then you'll get Rob on board.
Well, Adam, my mom grew up with Barbie dolls, and they didn't have Ken because my grandma had a bunch of kids, so they didn't want to buy Ken, but she had G.I. Joe. And so, yeah, my mom always had G.I. Joe married Barbie. That was always her joke. I don't see how you could have got 90s kids into Barbie, because I remember those commercials. It's like Barbie Dream House. Barbie goes to the Olympics. Barbie gets pregnant. It's like, okay, cool. Those are things that I don't care about, and I'll never get pregnant, so I don't care about that either. So Barbie, one of those weird things, I know the point you're making is how do we take something that's intrinsically for boys and make it for girls and vice versa. The whole point is you can't. You really shouldn't. There's properties that appeal to everybody, and there's properties that are for boys and girls. I know Transformers, mostly men. Yes, there's female collectors, but I don't know many. I know many.
Can I address this in a way that I think would probably fit best for everybody?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of detrimental to anybody's goal to try and change anything about these properties, because let's take away the fact that they were created for boys or for girls in general. Wouldn't you just want to open the playing field? And if a boy wants to play with a Barbie and they want to play with it, don't they want to play with it because of the feminine qualities to begin with? So changing it fundamentally, wouldn't that kind of just fucking ruin all that for somebody who is like a kid who's just learning that they want to, be like Barbie instead of He-Man? Like, I'm not saying, that's not how it works sometimes,
Yeah.
I just look at it that way. I mean, fundamentally changing these properties to make them more binary and less feminine or masculine kind of defeats the purpose in the end. I mean, I'm not going to discourage a boy if they want to play with a Barbie, go for it. But I think a boy would be discouraged if you try to make a Barbie more like a boy toy, because then that would defeat the purpose of them wanting to go after it in the first place.
That is the perfect way to handle it, man. I grew up with a mom who was into that stuff, never tried to impart it to me because she knew. So, Culture Casino, thank you very much. He says, great stuff tonight, guys. I'm loving this stuff. Culture Casino, it was an awesome show last night with Chris. Dude, it was hard for me to talk, not because I couldn't, but because I wanted to listen. Like you said, Tom, we watched this guy on TV for all these years, so it's kind of surreal. Like we're used to when Chris Gore's on something, it's a screen we used to just watch and listen. So I'm sitting here going, oh wait, I have to talk to this guy.
And he's like Robert, Robert Meyer Burnett, where he's just got a wealth of stories where you just want to sit back and you don't want to miss out on what he could say. Like that's the other thing.
He was telling us Robert stories on Jesse's stream last night.
I know. I wish I could have. I watched some of it, and then I had some other things I had to do and stuff, and then I did some Cobra Kai. But I listened to a lot of it, and it was great. I want to get back and listen to the whole thing again. But yeah, I want to talk to him some more because, like I said, definitely want to get him and Rob together. Like that's going to be a fucking. That would be like an epic stream with those two going off on stories about the past. I mean, that's the thing is those two have been so close to things for the last 40 years that we've loved that I'm sure they've got more stories than we could ever imagine.
Yeah, it's fun to know guys like that. And the weird part for me is it's the people that he keeps bringing up as his friends are people that I listen to their content regularly or have, seen books and stuff by them. So it's just weird. It really makes the world a lot smaller. He's like, oh, my friend Mark A. Altman. I'm like, the guy from the podcast I listen to? Shit. Okay, cool. So it all kind of comes full circle.
No, and I also love that we're almost like a kindred spirit in a way when he come up and he's like, I just didn't give a fuck. Because I'd be the same way if I was on. I mean, I'm the guy who'd rather be in the background writing the jokes. I'm not good at delivering the jokes. So like if somebody put me in front of a screen or in front of a camera like that on screen, I would be like him. And that's kind of the way I am with this shit. Like, I mean, I always thought I was going to do audio editing and, shoot the shit on some podcasts and stuff. I didn't know I was going to get to this level. So like, for me to just do this stuff is, that's what it really kind of meant something to me to hear that from Chris, because he picked up on that, I guess. For me, I was like, yeah, I just kind of say what's on my fucking mind. If it comes out one way or the other, I guess, whatever.
Well, dude, to me, when I hear something like that from somebody, I go, that means you're doing the right shit and keep it up. So.
Right. And that's the one thing, whenever anybody asks us for advice on being a YouTuber, the best thing I can, impart to anybody is just be yourself. Talk about what you love first, or talk about what you know. and find your whatever it is that you love. Because there's times where, I mean, I'm getting resistant on Discovery, but I mean, there's certain things I have to do because it's my job now. But at the same time, I mean, I love talking about Cobra Kai. I love like me hanging out with Jeff here. This is a highlight of my day. And I'm not even joking in any way, shape, or form, because I just love talking to Jeff about Beverly Hills Cop and Star Wars and everything else we're talking about. It's just because he gets it. And even though we're almost probably 10, 15 years apart in age, not even, but because you were born what, 88? 88. So okay, we're 8 years apart. So even though we're almost a decade apart in age, we still have a lot in common. Even though he didn't have the same exact experiences as I did growing up, we still have a lot in common. And that's what's great about this community is even though we're totally different in so many ways, and I'm not even talking about our skin color here. I'm just talking about our background. I mean, it just like even the fact that we're that different, yet we have so many common ground things that we can, attach ourselves to and bond over is great. And that's one thing I'll never change is that the bonds that I've made and the friendships I've made. And, same thing goes for like, meeting Robert Meyer Brunette. It was like a dream. And like last night with Chris, it was just so surreal, and I've talked to people that are, I've hung out for hours with people like Clint Howard, and I've talked to Robert Shea and, even people from Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff.
Wait, you met Bob Shea?
Well, I talked to him online. Yeah. We interviewed him. That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I've done so much shit because of this. And a lot of it just came out of me fucking around online, making cartoons to begin with and making music and shit. I never thought it would ever lead to this kind of stuff.
Dude, it's the beauty of the internet, but it also goes to show you that anybody that can do it on the internet like this, you had it in you, you got something special. So when you brought up the stream, like this, when you said you'd be a part of this, I was like, cool, because this turns it into a show almost. Like, yeah, I was going to do the super chats and read everything and have fun, but now it's like it's a show. So thanks for coming on this morning, man. We're not done, but
dude, I'll tell you this, this. If I'm awake and I ain't got, something to do for Midnight's Edge that's more pressing, I'm always here for you, dude, no matter what. And if it's an emergency, I'm there no matter what. So that. So
of course.
But yeah, and yes, Vinny, the Bob Shea from New Line Cinema. It's a great interview after the show. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's on our Midnight's Edge channel. I suggest you do. He talks about everything from John Waters to Ninja Turtles to Lord of the Rings to Nightmare on Elm Street. We get as much as we can in like an hour and a half of a interview. It was awesome getting to talk. It was like I talk about being beside myself. Like, I think I almost embarrassed myself a little bit in him in a way when I first talked to him. Cause I'm like, dude, you don't understand. You are my childhood. All your movies were posters on my wall.
I look at a guy like him. He's a guy that I respect because how he formed New Line and was doing it himself. And then it became what it became. I always love the guys that, like George Lucas says, by hook or by crook, I'll finish this movie. Okay, cool. I don't know what that means, but you did it and you made the movie. I mean, Bob Shea built huge things from nothing.
He's just as important as George Lucas is to Hollywood, but he doesn't get talked about as much, I think. Sorry, Jeff, you were saying something else there.
No. You're right, though. He doesn't get talked about that in that way. And, New Line and Lord of the Rings, I don't know how much he's involved with getting Lord of the Rings to the screen and all this.
Everything.
Okay. Because I just wasn't involved in the film or the story. So when that movie came out, I didn't pay attention to any of it, folks.
Basically,
I was more aware of the Matrix.
The short version, and this is kind of what he told us too in it, is Peter Jackson and those guys came to him because they were looking for more money. The Weinsteins only wanted to give him so much, and the Weinsteins only wanted to make 2 movies. Bob, after the meeting, he's in the middle of the meeting, he's like, wait a minute. He's like, ain't this 3 movies? It's 3 books. Because he's like, if I could have made fucking 50 Lord of the Rings movies, I would have. He's loved it. And he's like, you guys, he's like, you can't make 2 movies out of Lord of the Rings. It's got to be 3. And he's like, well, we haven't got the money for that. You don't. Here you go. That was pretty much how it happened. And the studio's like, you're going to fucking bankrupt us. And he's like, you're fucking joking. I fucking pre-sold this all. It's already paid for. He's got it pre-sold all overseas already. So he had the movie paid for before it even hit the screens. He was like, if it fucking bombed, guess what? We had the other 2 movies in the can. We could have sold them to cable, made even more money that way. So it didn't matter. They were going to make money no matter what. He knew they were going to make money. He was one of the best producers you could ever fucking... He knew how to make money. Motherfucker knew it. And same thing with... Look at what he did with Ninja Turtles. Nobody wanted that movie. Can you believe that? In the height of the toys... in the TV series. Every studio said, nope, we're not going to take a chance on that. Bob didn't even know. Yeah, Bob didn't even know what the fuck they were. He's like, what the hell's a Ninja Turtle? And this one guy, I can't remember his name, but him and somebody else in the office are like, oh, you know, this biggest thing right now with kids. And just because the one secretary lady said, oh, yeah, my 8-year-old loves them. He's like, all right, we'll make it.
There's the realness, though, to him. So
I mean, he had no clue what the fuck Ninja Turtles was. And it became the biggest independent film of all time at that point until a Blair Witch Project, if you don't count Star Wars. Because Star Wars was technically released by a major studio, so, yeah.
So, let's see. I'm going to listen to that one.
It's a great interview.
Because,
Yeah,
like I
I will.
said, he's just a guy I've always looked up to because he did it himself.
And that's what we started, you know, that's what we really got into with him, is about, you know, what did you do to set yourself up? Where did the inspiration to, you know, to do this? And that's what he said. He's just like, you know, there was nobody releasing these kind of movies, you know, and he was friends with like John Waters and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, those kind of movies weren't getting any attention. So, you know, he brought Evil Dead. I mean, we didn't even get a chance to talk to him about that. I mean, if it wasn't for him, Evil Dead, nobody would know what that is. New Line Cinema released Evil Dead, and everybody forgets that too.
I thank you, New Line Cinema. You and me.
Critters, we talked to him about all this shit they did. I mean, The Mask. He was very proud of The Mask too. That's another one he was very proud of. He talked a little bit about working with Jim Carrey. That was fun.
I forgot
too.
that was New Line. Dude, he did multiple New Line films. Duh. How did I forget that?
Well, he took him to the cleaners for Dumb and Dumber. Let's put it that way.
So our friend G-Virus00 says, your boy Zach said it best when he did vids on how woke SJW characters are avatars for feminists to put themselves into the role. So that was when we were talking about self-fulfilling or insert characters last night, G-Virus. And yeah, Tom and I did cover that one. But your boy Zach really had a lot of stuff right early on. Admittedly, I haven't been watching a lot of content in general, but when he was, you know, starting out, I couldn't miss a single one of his videos, even the fucking wind in the background and shit. Hey there, it's your boy Zach, blah, 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 Go-Gurt Hulk and all that. I like this stuff quite a bit. And he gave me a shout out. And that's kind of what helped us get a nice little swing, because we talked about the culture war on our own channel and he mentioned it. And then it kind of just, you know, we actually got to stream together. I believe he's the first High Council. I could be wrong. It's either him or Jeremy Hambley. It's one of those two guys. It's not Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. He's the third guest. That's the real truth behind the whole story. He's the third guest. It was Jeremy Hambley or whatchamacallit first.
I don't think I knew that. Now I don't feel so bad about being the Joe Pescopo of the High Council.
I mean, Joe Piscopo jokes come up every once in a while on Family Guy, so he's still part of pop culture.
I know. That's why I make that joke.
007 Cloud says, what if before Kylo stabs Han, he gets flung upward, then down into the abyss and dies? Han looks around and sees a familiar face. Luke, yahoo!
What I love about one of the interviews with Mark Hamill is he actually points out that scene that he thought that him and Leia should have been coming in at that moment and been too late to save him. And I could have accepted that. Because that was like, he's like, that's what I could see. He's like, you know, my sister came and got me because she needs my help, but we just didn't get there in time. You know, and he's like, we needed that emotional pull. And I wanted to bring that up last night, but Chris was on a roll, but because he was right. He was exactly right. Like, you need the reaction. Who gives a fuck about Rey's reaction? She knew him for 10 minutes. Unless that's her dad, it matters not. And I think that's what they were setting up. Sorry, what would you say, Jeff?
I just, spoiler alert, it wasn't.
Yeah, I know. I think that's what they were setting up, though. Because if you watch The Force Awakens, because I know you hate it, so you probably really haven't since, but there's a couple key scenes where I really think she was meant to be a solo. I really think that the story, the way it was set up, knowing JJ the way I do, because there's a couple scenes where between the fact that she knows everything about the Falcon, I think that the Falcon was basically left for her. And I think that the whole reason that him and Leia broke up is because he didn't agree with her being hidden. And the whole reason she was being hidden is because she was born when Kylo was away being taught. And they were afraid that if he found out about her, he would come and kill her or try and recruit her. And Han Solo felt guilty about that. Because especially in that scene where she goes, I've never seen so much green in all my life. He has the guiltiest fucking look on his face when he looks at Chewie. So, like, between that and the whole setup of, like, okay, if you're actually going to only have her there witnessing the death, then it has to be her brother killing their father. that has to be the setup. Otherwise, it's pointless. So
Well,
I do, yeah.
It turned out to be pointless.
It did turn out to be pointless. But she did say that they, at one point, she was a Solo. Another point, they toyed with making her an Obi-Wan before she eventually became a Palpatine after being a nobody. So, like, we do know that much. So there's that to support my argument.
Good old Ray Skywalker. It's so our friend Nisa-san is talking about the rise of Skywalker. I'm glad we had a perfect transition. He says,
And I'm glad to see Dr. Coffin-Nail. Sorry, just to say that I made sense because he rarely agrees with me. But anyway, sorry. Go on.
I'm glad Dr. Coffin-Nails is awake right now. Actually, I keep forgetting it's not early. Fuck, I'm sorry, folks. I'm on a weird schedule right now. What up, Pop Culture Minded? How you guys doing? Congratulations. I think you guys posted 90K views or something recently.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
Really working
awesome
hard.
job, guys. We'll have to have you back on the High Council again soon.
Hey, did you see Gary's Captain Kirk picture he drew recently?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
We talked about it for like an hour the other night, how great it was. Because it got us talking about Drew Struzan and all that shit.
See you later, Mando Merc. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And folks, do me a favor, just hit the thumbs up button. I'll be back on Friday morning with Good Morning Pop Culture because of all of you. So you guys know how to get things done.
And okay, he says he agrees with me most of the time, but I'll tell you what, you keep me honest at least. All right, I'll give you that much.
Wait till you hang out with Dr. Coffin-Nails. I've had the opportunity to meet him twice.
Didn't I meet you in Vegas or no? I'm trying to remember.
He did not come out to Vegas.
He didn't. Okay, so then I couldn't remember.
He's fun though. He comes up to our table, always polite, always shakes hands, always a nice guy. And then we're like, hey man, what's up? Good to see you again. And we just start passing beers around, and before you know it, it's like we've known him forever. So that's why I always give him shit in the chat, folks. I know the guy. I've met him multiple times. He sent me his comic. He's cool. So now, Nissa-san says none of the principles understood by Star Wars by the Rise of Skywalker, they thought by giving Rey an important heritage was the same thing as her having a storyline. The Rise of Skywalker barely qualifies as a movie. It sounds harsh, but I'm with you. I repeat myself on this movie. I hate it. I hated it then. I hate it now. My thing is it felt like a video game and not in a positive way. It felt like there was, like you said, they feel like the lineage is a storyline because people go, oh, she's related to Palpatine, which means this and that and that and that. And that's nice, but that's not part of the real story. So it's not like George Lucas had told us this for 30 years. Oh, Palpatine's granddaughter will return one day and we're waiting. No, we don't know because the story of Star Wars ended and now random shit just pops up at the end. That's what kills it. And that's why I hate her as a character. Daisy Ridley might be a nice lady, but Rey Skywalker, garbage. You agree with that?
Yes.
Thank you very much to the good Tom King. He says what George Lucas.
This stream finished.
Oh, this is last night.
Okay, I was like, wow, this is the last. I was like, says your stream is finished. Are you just talking to the either? Oh, duh, you're doing
this is super chat catch up.
Sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So the good Tom King says what George Lucas made is timeless. It's a story that has and will continue to resonate throughout human history. Yes, Tom, because he started with Joseph Campbell's Hero of a Thousand Faces. Mm-hmm. He understands the hero's journey, and he might not be this hands-on personal director, but he understands humanity, and that shit's in his movies. Even the lesser ones have a level of humanity that still makes them better than a lot of stuff.
Because today everyone has this hubris thinking they're going to reinvent the fucking wheel. Joseph Campbell wrote the fucking book on this. Actually wrote many books on this. And the smart people don't try to reinvent what he has definitively told you, and many others will definitively tell you. It's just how storytelling goes. These are the universal things that appeal to human nature. What the smart people like George Lucas do, just figure out how to tell those stories, retell them in new ways, repackage them in new ways. They understand that the things you change about these stories aren't the core values, aren't the things that make them universally appealing. They're the things that make them, they're the things you change are the setting, the backdrop, the characters, the backstories of those things, the way those weave together, elements you might blend in, modern new things that haven't been used before in that genre, things like that. You don't try to sit there and tinker with the stuff that works time after time after time. But these people don't, they either think they're smart enough to do that or they're too lazy to come up with new ideas. So they think they're being original when all they're doing is just recycling things in a way that's already been done. They just don't know it because they're too stupid to realize that people existed and made movies before they did.
Well said. Honestly, well said. NG1T, thank you very much for everything, but thank you for these 2 messages right now. He says, F Disney. Haha, High Republic, proof of no change. Also, he says, keep up the videos. Boycott Disney. Blew the second chance. Well, NG1T, I will continue the videos. Folks, you are watching the videos. I love making them. It's fun to have those conversations. So, like the joke in Shaun of the Dead says, about farting, I'll stop doing it when you stop laughing. Keep watching. I'll keep making them. Any topic you guys want, if the audience is into it, I'll cover it. We did Captain Marvel, all this. We didn't do Captain Marvel, thankfully. Made videos on Captain Marvel. Didn't want to, but you guys wanted it. And they were fun, and they were good. So thank you very much, NG1T, for that nice message. Now, our friend Andy Lee sent in a super chat last night. We did talk about it, but I wanted to bring it up. Gideon's ship view on Tython looks like a certain plug. So, Tom, I know you watched The Mandalorian. Gideon's ship, we joked that it looked like a butt plug.
Oh, that's the one that looked like a butt plug. Okay,
yeah.
Now I know which one I'm talking about. Yeah.
So I don't want to get on the whole tangent, but when you want to make your sci-fi sexual, look at H.R. Giger and all of his work and the Alien and all that stuff. And that works for that world. I know it's probably unintentional, but Star Wars people out there, you put Leox Gayassi, aka Leo the 10th is gay in there for your, old historical humor. Don't make the ships look like dicks just to make yourself laugh. Throw in a potato, do other crap, but
I'm putting that on a shirt. Don't make your ships look like dicks.
Make sure you quote that to me. I'll draw a picture of myself on it for you.
Awesome.
Dude, it was fun to show the High Council cover last night because people have been messaging me about it. So I'll put that up on screen for those while we have a few more super chats, probably about 7. And then we're going to address, actually that includes the new ones from today. And then we're going to kind of close this one out, folks, because all this was to catch up for last night because we had Chris Gore on and he only had so much time and he had agreed to do both shows. So today we were able to do this show for you guys. So yes, it took a little time, a couple hours to get back, but there's a whole extra bonus show and this will remain on the channel just like the High Council. So hopefully you guys check it out and enjoy it. Yakase, thank you very much. He said, just dropping some love. Good to see Chris here. Chris definitely felt the love last night and he had a lot of fun with us and we'll be talking and stuff again. So just keep watching, folks. But Yakase, thank you. Chris Kelling says, well, she was a hooker to outfit. So the outfit works. What were we talking about? Logan's Run, right?
I can't remember. I think so.
Because it was Chris talking about his Logan's Run cosplay with the rips being accurate. I pulled up the picture and I think we started talking about Jenny Augutter and we were laughing at it. So yeah, if that's because I've only seen Logan's Run once. It was a good once, but I don't remember everything from it. So Chris, thank you very much for that message. And then for the final one from last night, Yakase says, this better not be porn with a smiling sun. Maybe it should be. Maybe the world will be a better place if we're all just banging. Anyway, on to today's. So, folks, thank you for joining us again today. Now, to get caught up, we are on Putin's Power Squat. Thank you very much for your message. He says, anime/manga are destroying comics/Hollywood just for the sheer fact the art is better and the hero's journey exists. Jeff, favorite anime/manga? Much love. First off, Putin's Power Squats. Thank you very much for the message. I would like to address the first part first. I look at anime and manga and I find myself interested, especially the manga part. Anime, look, folks, there are certain elements from anime that are a hard sell. So when I answer what my favorite ones are, you're going to understand what I like. So some of the more mainstreamy stuff doesn't appeal to me, but manga of any genre is an easier sell because I like all comics. So yes, I know manga comics, they're different. They go different ways. I understand the minutia, believe me. I don't make videos on it, but I have a fucking mini library of them thanks to the listeners out there like Wheezy Bird and Jack White. So those types of traditional tropes are a part of manga. And yeah, I firmly believe that's why it's the world leader in that kind of entertainment. One Piece has, 1,000 chapters? That little kid, the pirate, he was more compelling in the first act of his story than anything I saw from Ray. He was this kid that ate a fruit that could get stretchy. He wanted to be a cook on a pirate ship or whatever. He wanted to be a pirate. Pirates treated him like shit. It was interesting. So that is why I believe that kind of stuff is more popular. Even as an adult, I'm looking at this going, this is kind of fun. I can see why a kid would like it. Now, to answer your question, Putin's Power Squats, my favorite anime/manga is Lupin the Third. He's my favorite Japanese character like that. Maybe Link from The Legend of Zelda and Super Mario will edge out Lupin as my favorite Japanese characters overall, but I do love the character a lot. And so when I mentioned earlier how I picked up the new movie, I'm super excited to watch it. I think Pancake might have knocked it down, so I got to go look for it. But yeah, I love Lupin the Third. I love Golgo 13. I like Dragon Ball Z, all the fun, the big stuff I'm well aware of. Dragon Ball Z. I liked Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, Battle of the Fist of the North Star, not Battle of the Network Stars. Sorry. Anyway, I like all that shit. So there's a lot. Berserk, that's fun too. I think our friend 007 Cloud loves Berserk just as much. So yeah, I get why it's different, why it sells more Putin's Power Squats, and I also, I have favorites in those categories. I like a lot of the older stuff, the grittier, the more violent. I also love when Japanese artists interpret American life, because there's a fun level of, there's fun to it, but there's also a little reverence. Yeah, sometimes your foreigners will always take pot shots at American life, but Japanese culture, like Japanese entertainment, tends to paint certain American things more positively because they've embraced it and made it their own. So that's another level, another layer of why I like anime and manga so much. Adam Wofford, thank you for your generous super chat. He says, so if Stephen King's works is all correct and our world's in another version of Earth in his multiverse, that means that the Dark Tower is our future. Post-apocalypse wasn't land full of monsters and mutants. Oh, sorry, post-apocalyptic wasteland full of monsters and mutants. So we could change monsters and mutants to crazies and assholes, and that's where we live right
now. Pretty much.
Yeah.
NPCs and SJWs, what have you?
They're everywhere. They're taking over.
Guys, speaking of social justice issues that are really important, a new one just came to my attention. Have you noticed in movies, we feature the yellow lab and the golden retriever all the time, constantly, everywhere. But black labs matter, guys.
I saw the hashtag when you came over. I was like,
oh, that was good.
Now, I think social justice Jessie is going to have a lot to say about this. So she's going. So if you care about animals and social justice,
that sounds like a T-shirt too. Black labs.
So let's read a couple of these. I'll share this on screen real quick before we close out this morning's show. Because again, Tom, I'll tell you thanks on air. I'll tell you thanks off air. But this has been way more fun than I planned. I thought this was going to be a nice, easy thing. But now it's like a bonus show. So I hope you're having as much fun as I am, dude.
Absolutely. Like I said, anytime you need me, I'm here. You know that.
Oh, I do, and I appreciate that. And folks, that's why we stream together a lot, because it's fun. That's really what it all boils down to. People on the internet have the luxury of working with people they like. So now Putin's Power Squat has a recommendation, Tom. I think we should make this happen. Do a Beverly Hills Cop happy hour with Critical Drinker.
Oh, I would love that. I think he's talked about doing one. I don't know. I think he's got Az on it, but obviously I don't want to push us on there. But yeah, if you guys have to make that happen, not us.
Yeah. I guess I'll never invite myself onto another person's channel just because we have subscribers. But if I do get invited, I'd gladly go. So I'll say it publicly. If I get invited, awesome. I'm not asking the show. The audience can do that. I don't want to overstep boundaries. But I will say, on YouTube, there's really only two guys that know their shit the way we do that might not be on that stream, and it's us. So everyone's going to have fun no matter what on that stream. But, put it like this, Tom. If that doesn't happen, we'll just do an American version. We'll do an American happy hour. Because, I'll fucking go to Detroit and I'll do it. No, wait. I can go to Beverly Hills. It's like 20 minutes from here.
No shit, right?
Locations.
Exactly. You could even go to the locations.
That's how I spent my birthday, Tom. We drove around Rodeo Drive and looked at all the places from the movie and listened to the soundtrack. It was so fucking fun, dude.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember you putting that on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was loving it. It was Jesse was driving us. My mom was in the back seat, and we were listening to that shit. I was like, "This is a great."
I do this shit all the time. It's like a picnic.
Oh man, I know it's a really nerdy thing to say, but when Miller Lite brought back their beer can, their classic one, I was like, "That's from Beverly Hills Cop," and I drank more Miller Lite because of that movie. That's Axel Foley's choice of beer.
Get your ass in this pool.
Axel, get out of the goddamn pool! I told you the deck was slippery.
I told you the deck was slippery. Get your mad ass in this poop. How the fuck do you steal a house? It's my uncle's house.
Was he in rock and roll? Jesse hasn't seen that one yet. I can't wait to show it to her.
Look, there's titties. We got oranges. Get it. There's swimming trunks. Get in the pool.
So let's see. We have three more from our friend, from everybody. First off, Valiant Renegade says Tom needs to do a Blu-ray show. Fellow video file.
Yeah, honestly, that's where I started when I got to when I switched from the goofing around shit to movies. I actually was more about Blu-rays when Andre found me. and they just I haven't really done one in a while, and yeah, it's always a possibility. I've talked about it with Robert Meyer Burnett and stuff like that, but he's got his own. And we kind of did actually with Talking Blue. It just never really took off the way we were hoping, but that's always a possibility. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, the nice part about all this is always keep opportunity or options open, because who knows, down the road you might be streaming with somebody about Blu-rays and it gets picked up and this, that, and the other. So see, folks, that's why we always want to keep our favorite things, alive and well too, because there's always an audience for that stuff. I mean, Tom, you know this, so I'm not really talking to you, but there's an audience for all these things, even the stuff that we think is like whatever, people watch. So thank you, folks. Now, Canadian Spider-Man has a really excellent question. This is important. He goes, love that you guys are streaming together. How much did the soundtracks of Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2 and the 80s and 80s movies in general add to the box office successes? Tom?
Probably quite a bit. Because I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, Heat Is On went to number 1, I think. And then Neutron Dance, I think, equally went to somewhere in the top 5, if not number 1. Stirred Up, I think, made it in the top 40 somewhere. What else? And Axel F was a number 1 hit, wasn't it?
Yeah, multiple countries.
Yeah.
Have you listened to all the official, in quotations, remixes from back in the day?
Yeah.
They're fun.
Didn't I send those to you?
You may have. I may have had like older files that I'm just going from too.
Okay.
Because I like the Eminem mix and all these other weird.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have those, but I sent you the versions I sent you were whatever they had for like 45 singles or 7-inch singles and stuff like that back in the day. Yeah.
I want to go back and collect those. Actually, I started doing that.
I have a
just
couple.
They're official.
But I don't have all of them. I've got a couple. I've got 2 versions of the record soundtrack. I got the one with the Rick James song on it.
Oh, okay. So then you have, I think if there's a vinyl release, I think I have a vinyl release of that.
Yeah, that's the only. I've got the vinyl. I got a couple vinyls, and of course, then I got the score vinyl, which we picked up a couple years back. The banana version I got.
I think I got the palm tree one.
Yeah, I think we remember talking about that. Yeah. And then, of course, I got the CD versions too. And then, but then the second soundtrack actually, I think, had more hits on it because that I actually have some of the maxi singles for, because I got the Cross My Broken Heart. I got that one for. I'm sure that was a top 10 hit. And I know Shakedown was the first number 1 hit for Bob Seger. And I don't know if he's had a number 1 hit since then.
Didn't that song get nominated for some kind of Oscar too?
I believe that did get nominated for best song that year. If it didn't, I think if I remember, I don't know if it won, but yeah, it did get nominated. Well, that back then, all kinds of cool songs got nominated then.
Cool movies got nominated too.
Yeah, that too.
Now, I went a little further into this.
Then of
question.
course, George Michael and all that shit with "I Got Your Sex" or "I Want Your Sex." I think that was a number 1 hit as well.
I didn't even. I knew that song outside of that movie as a kid as well. Like, it would just pop up every once in a while.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was a big hit on the radio. So, yeah.
So I looked up the best-selling soundtracks of all time, the top 10, and you have 1, 2, 3 from the 80s are on the list. You'd be surprised some of them are better than number 1, because number 1's The Bodyguard with 45 million.
I knew that
Saturday
one.
Night Fever. Now, the number 1 80s soundtrack, according to this best-selling list, is Dirty Dancing. That sold 32 million units.
That doesn't surprise me.
32 million. Now, you'll be surprised, too, because now we're starting to get, like, all these are in the same kind of category and how many they sold. So Titanic sold 30. Grease sold 28. Now, there are 1, 2, 3 Indian films on here that sold 20 million plus soundtracks. Bollywood movies, yeah.
Bollywood's big.
Yeah, the thing called, I can't even try to pronounce these, but there's one called Bombay. That's number 9.
What
but
were
then
the other
you have
ones from the 80s? Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, the other ones from the 80s are Purple Rain and Flashdance. The Lion King closes out the top 10 with 15 million copies sold.
Okay.
Now, to answer that question too, though, look at the 80s ones. Since you asked about the 80s ones, who actually asked that question? I don't want to give the wrong name. Who asked it? Canadian Spider-Man asked it. So Canadian Spider-Man, those 80s movies, I think definitely helped. I know this is a very hollow answer to say, but I know I watched Beverly Hills Cop as many times as I did because of the song. So it's stupid,
there was definitely a synergy there. That was definitely the point where you hit this stride of the pop soundtrack coming in tandem with the movie and selling the movie. at the same time.
Now, we have one final message from our friend Fat Steven Seagal, who's no longer beating up Ryan Johnson. He's just Fat Steven Seagal again. He says, your invite to the lunch table is waiting. #SadFat. I think I'm going to take you up on that invite because I haven't even had breakfast yet, and it's 1:40, so I'm going to go have a meal. Tom,
right.
is there anything you want to say to the audience before we go?
No, it's just been fun as always hanging out with you and mainly just talking about whatever came up in the super chats and stuff like that. And yeah, for those who love 80s, well, not just 80s soundtracks, but soundtracks in general, check out Mead Radio. I do a lot of soundtrack playing there. So there you go.
Ooh, that. No, okay. See, I see that stuff pop up, and I was like, "What's Mead Radio?" And I go, "Oh, okay."
Well, I started its own channel, but yeah, it's just I just play for like 2-3 hours. I just play music. Sometimes I do. I mean, it's always music from movies or television. I make a few exceptions for like video games or like movie stars or comedians. Like I'll play like the asshole song from
Dennis Leary.
Dennis Leary, and I'll play like some Adam Sandler and shit like that. You know, I played "Party All the Time" by Eddie Murphy for the same reason, stuff like that. Like I'll make those exceptions, but sometimes I'll even have themes. You know, like for 4th of July, I played the entire what you call it, the Team America soundtrack, and then a bunch of patriotic songs after that. And so, like, yeah, you know, I do themes and shit, like at Christmas and all that stuff. So it's fun. I'll play both scores and pop soundtracks and deep cuts, all kinds of stuff. So there you go.
Folks, I'm letting this scroll in the background. You can see some of the prominent 80s soundtracks. I might go back and listen to a couple of these songs today.
I have all the ones you mentioned. Fast Times, I got that one. Yeah.
I didn't see Fast Times until I was like 16. So
no, Goonies. Well, that's about the right time to see Fast Times.
It was a good movie.
I got all these. I should know. I should have all these.
Yeah, Purple Rain. I didn't realize it was a double disc set.
Well, there is one now.
Then we got Batman. Top Gun.
I got like 3 copies of Top Gun. Cocktail, yeah, got that. Flash, got that. Yeah.
Breakfast Club.
Yep.
Pretty in Pink.
Yeah, I think I got that on LP. I don't have that on CD yet though. Flashdance, I gotta get on CD, but I got it on LP. Big Chill, I've got like 5 fucking copies of, but yeah.
St. Elmo's Fire.
Yeah, of course.
Blues Brothers.
I have 2 copies at least, if not.
Say anything,
of course.
And then finally,
that's another one I've got a couple copies of, but that's because there's different editions. Like there's that one says bonus tracks. I got that one plus the original. Same thing with Top Gun. They did a special edition as well. Yeah.
Well, folks, go out and listen to some of these songs today before you come back for the matriarchy over on Mindless Entertainment. Jesse and Anna, that Star Wars girl, are going to be covering all kinds of topics. And that'll be in about an hour and 20-ish minutes. So you guys go have lunch, go listen to these songs, and come back to YouTube.
And while you're waiting for that, I think I'm heading over to Mr. H's channel. So
there you go, folks. So go follow Tom. I would say I would end every stream with go follow Tom, but you'll never sleep because Tom never sleeps. So
I might go to sleep after that.
Follow Tom within reason, folks. Make sure the man gets some sleep.
And stop me from walking off a cliff if you see me getting too close.
Always.
Yeah,
sleepwalking is dangerous, man. I'll put my bed pillows in the oven if I'm not careful.
Bed pillows in the oven?
Check the oven. Check the fridge or whatever else?
It's in the fridge, yeah. The first in the fridge, yeah.
Yeah, God, I love that movie.
I love Step Brothers is amazing.
So
I'm not gonna do it ever, even if there's a fire.
Dude, that is the movie that has become part of my vernacular. I say even if there's a fire all the time. Dion hates it, but I do it to him all the time. So next time you talk to him, just be like, "Yeah, man, I hate this movie. I wouldn't watch it even if there's a fire." And he'll just laugh. I would be like, "Fuck you, too, man." I may have overdone it with Step Brothers.
Bam.
You've actually seen him eat a man's penis. It was in international waters. They can't watch Oh my God, Step Brothers, top favorite comedy.
Great comedies, yes.
I'll go with that one. All right, folks. Well, I'm gonna go eat my breakfast burrito. Tom, I'm just gonna end the stream in general. So it's always been a pleasure to stream with you, man. But folks, I'm gonna go. I'll be back tomorrow with more. So be safe, be smart, be cool, but always be excellent to each other.